Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Raga Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So, was ist das? Sprichst du Englisch, Deutsch?
Ich spreche Deutsch. Auch beides.
So Deutsch, Deutsch, Deutsch. Englisch, Englisch.
Englisch.
Was sollen wir machen?
Wenn alle Englisch sprechen, dann...
Englisch ist okay. Englisch ist okay dann. Verstehst du Englisch?
Ja.
Du, wie heißt der?
Ja, so Martin.
Du verstehst einfach?
Ja.
Okay. So, Englisch dann.
Englisch, ne?
So we are reading from Transcendental Diary by Hari Sori Prabhu. We are now in Sri Vrindavan Dham. This is September 9th, 1976. Prabhupada decided to visit Taporia house for his morning walk. This is the place of life member from Bombay donated just before we left for the world tour in April. Prabhupada has instructed that all the householders, women and children, must reside there instead in the guest house where their presence has been a disturbance. Walking down Chatikara Road, he turned left past Vogel Ashram. There must be some Germans that they're visiting, so they made a Vogel Ashram. Vogel in German means bird, so it's a bird ashram. Vogel Ashram. Actually, when I came first time to Vrindavan, there was no guest houses. There was no ashram. There was only one guest house in the whole Vrindavan, and this was a Vogel Ashram. And this was a very primitive. You stayed in Vogel Ashram, huh? Vogel Ashram was like a medieval jail. No windows. And no windows. You just kind of close the door and it's dark inside. so we just went to sleep there. Vogel Ashram. And it was really, really cheap. I remember it was so cheap, like something like, I don't know, very, very cheap. 5 rupees a day or something. So this was the Vogel Ashram. And the house, which is situated just at the side of Vrindavan Parikrama path. The grounds of the property are spacious. The main house is 2 stories and there are a number of smaller rooms off to one side. There is a well and gardens, and the devotees have constructed a high wall for security. Srila Prabhupada closely inspected everything. He was pleased and commented it was the ideal place for the women and children. We returned to the temple along the back road. Prithu and Vedavyasa Prabhus, the 2 Germans, this Vedavyasa Prabhu is Bhakti Gauravani Swami, heutzutage, and Prithu Prabhu is immer noch Prithu, accompanied Prabhupada, walking just behind him. About halfway to the temple, Srila Prabhupada stopped suddenly. Half turning, he raised his cane across the chest and surprised Prithu and asked him, "So, you're from Germany, is there any difficulty?" He put the cane in the chest of Prithu Prabhupada. And Prithu smiled nervously. "No, not anymore, Srila Prabhupada." "So, when are you going back to Germany?" Prabhupada asked him warmly. Prithu said they were planning to leave right away, within a day. Prabhupada gave them a broad smile. With his eyes widening, he said, "Stay for at least 3 weeks. Enjoy the spiritual atmosphere." The 2 men grinned and their faces glowed with appreciation of Srila Prabhupada's thoughtfulness and kind considerations. Accordingly, they have adjusted their tickets and extended their stay for another 3 weeks. So this is just, I can say a few words about this. that the older generations in ISKCON, I think I caught the last wave of this old, you can say old mood of ISKCON was the service, was the everything. Dedication to service is everything, you know. So they thought staying in Vrindavan is Maya, not Maya, but it's, you know, we gotta go back to do some service, to book distribution. I know in America I met many Prabhupada disciples who were saying similar story, that they always thought I would rather serve Prabhupada by distributing books than to meet Prabhupada personally, because service was most important. Somehow in the times this mood has shifted, and now the service is somehow on the number 3 or number 4 or number 5 on the list. So the many young devotees don't even think that service is something that's very important. You know, something what is important is to get a Bhakti Shastra degree, or, you know. But this is not, as we see here, the mood was very different. And therefore the mood flourished, the movement flourished because of this mood of attitude of service. And particularly service concerning preaching, spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world. So I think this is time to revive this mood. And I think every lecture I will mention this over and over again. It's a time to revive the mood of service, mood of preaching. You know, this is what counts. This is what is the actual value. The values, we have to remind us of our old values. Our old value is preaching Krishna consciousness and the mood of service. So this is like number 1. Also, so much so that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, I was just reading one article by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati about Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who was speaking about the holy name. So they asked Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati emphasized the service a lot. So they asked, what should we do? Should we chant more? Or should we serve more? You know, should I chant 64 rounds? Bhaktisiddhanta wanted his disciples to chant 64 rounds. So chant 64 rounds, or should we do more service? What is good? So Bhaktisiddhanta said, both. You should do more service, and while doing service, you should chant Hare Krishna. You don't need your fingers to actually chant Hare Krishna. You move your mouth. So more service and more chanting, actually. Not one at the exclusion of the other. You know, said, I want to chant. Because I think the question was, somebody in the ashram wanted to chant 120 rounds. But for 120 rounds, it takes many hours. I don't know, 10, 15 hours. So there's no time to do service. Bhaktisiddhanta said, no, he should chant all this, but while doing service. So this is the attitude that we need to revive back. Because I traveled quite the last couple of years in many temples, and I see that this is one thing that, no, only one, but one of the important things that is lacking. The attitude of service, the importance of service. So this is the one point I want to make. Maharaj, would you like to add something?
Actually, Pretu and Vedavyas went to see Prabhupada because of a lot of problems in Germany, and also they wanted to propose that we give up the Schloss Hennessy.
Give up,
move up, because it was very expensive. And Prabhupada said that actually the devotees also need a nice place, so keep it. There was another sannyasi, actually from Venezuela, and he, in order to take sannyas in Vrindavan, he went all the way. He had never been there. And Prabhupada gave him sannyas and said, you should immediately go back and preach. And he said, well, maybe I can immediately go back. The different ways of instruction that you have received.
Anybody else? Question, yes.
So the question, thank you very much. Because you said that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati wanted devotees to chant and to serve. Yeah. even without fingers, what you said, even without beats, but only chanting permanently the holy name. My question is, when we are cooking, for example, so that is motoric, let's say.
Sorry?
That is when we are cooking, that is, or how to say,
Our hands are busy.
the quick reactions, that is not the, how to say, long time reaction. Isn't it very, how to say, not disturbing, but isn't it when we are parallel chanting and cooking and preaching, isn't it not a bit light-minded? So,
You mean not attentive chanting?
The level of concentration. So, what it brings us when we are parallel doing something.
Yeah,
Because
yes,
when
this
I'm
is.
distributing, I'm praying.
Yes, I understand.
When I'm speaking with a person, I'm thinking what I say to this person
Yes,
in
of
the
course.
next moment.
Yeah, this is
You
the.
understand what I mean?
Yes, nice, thank you. This is the dilemma of Arjuna also. And Krishna explained to him the whole Bhagavad Gita that while mam anusmara yudhya cha, while you are fighting yudhya, you should think of me in my form of Krishna. So this is the part, when we as we meditate on Krishna, on Krishna's form, and then this meditation stays in our minds, and then after some time we'll constantly meditate on Krishna. But there's no harm. Yes, this is not the most attentive. Or when we hear the holy name, when we listen kirtan while cooking, when we listen lecture while cooking. So this is maybe not the most attentive listening or most attentive singing of the Hare Krishna, but it's the singing of the Hare Krishna nevertheless.
Okay, then one more. So to make it more automatically, I mean.
Yes, the whole point is to sadhana bhakti has to be transformed slowly into spontaneous devotional service, raga bhakti, ragatmika bhakti. So this is the whole point. This is why we're doing all of this. We call it sadhana bhakti, because sadhana bhakti means practicing devotional service. We are practicing. We are immaturely trying to practice, spontaneous devotional service. So we are forcing our mind. Bhagavad Gita also said one should take the mind by force. Because Arjuna said mind is more difficult to control than the wind. How do I do it? And Krishna said take it by the force. By the mind. When mind wanders, take it by the force, take it back. So this is what we are doing. We are forcing our mind. We are imposing Krishna consciousness on our unwilling person. Because originally we don't have a will, desire to serve Krishna. So we are forcing ourselves. Yes, Mangalarti, alarm, How many times you hear? I was recently, where we were in Simhachalam, and I was next to a Pujari, Ramananda Prabhu, and he's waking up at 2:30 or 3 o'clock to get up for the deities. And there was one alarm off, another, because the walls were thin, I was showering already. And another alarm, and then the third alarm was like a police siren. So forcing ourselves, otherwise we would sleep. But no, for Krishna we do it.
This chanting at the same time of doing service reminds me of Buddhi Chamajan.
Yes, exactly, yes.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was cleaning the temple, and he told the devotees to just not speak anything, just chant Hare Krishna.
Yes. That's it. Usually you find this amongst the young bhaktas. When they come to the temple, they're very enthused, they clean the floor, and Hare Krishna, singing, Later on, somehow we think that this is not appropriate, for whatever reason, But we should always actually sing Hare Krishna, People sing while they are showering. This is like a classic. Everybody sings in the shower. Somehow, I don't know, shower inspires singing. But we should sing Hare Krishna while showering. While we are driving, we should hear Hare Krishna. There are devotees who are, ultimately the Harinam Ruchi group, they are the emblem of the constantly chanting Hare Krishna. We see these videos, Mahavishnu Swami, they're swimming somewhere in Mexico in some lake, and he's like, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. You know, he's swimming, but his mind is, they're chanting Hare Krishna. So something like this. Okay, then listen, we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam now. Chapter 10, Canto 6, Text 11. Om Namo, Jaya Shishi Gornitai Ki Jai. Vijay Garanga Deol Nitai Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chayva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayet Nashta Prayeshya Badreshu Nitya Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki Shri Badarayani Ruvacha Shri Badarayani Ruvacha Evam Krita Vyavasito Dadyan Atharvanastatanum Pare Bhagavati Brahmani Atmanam Sanayan Jahau Shri Badarayani Ruvacha Evam Krita Vyavasito Dadyan Atharvanastanum Pare Bhagavati Brahmani Atmanam Sanayan Jahau Shri Badarayani Ruvacha Shri Badarayani Ruvacha Evam Krita Vyavasito Dadyan Atharvanastanum Pare Bhagavati Brahmani Atmanam Sanayan Jahau. Ladies. Shri Badarayani Ruvacha Shri Badarayani Huvacha. Shri Shukadeva Goswami said, Evam das Krita Vyavasitaha making certain of what to do, in giving his body to the demigods. Dadyan Dadichi Muni, Atharvanaha, the son of Atharva, Tanum, his body, Pare, to the Supreme, Bhagavati, personality of Godhead, Brahmani, the Supreme Brahman, Atmanam, himself, the spirit soul, Sanayan, offering, Jahau, gave up. Translation. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, the Dichi Muni, the son of Atharva, thus resolved to give his body to the service of the demigods. He placed himself, the spirit soul, at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and in this way gave up his gross material body made of 5 elements. Purport, as indicated by the words Pare Bhagavati Brahmani Atmanam Sanayan, the Dichi placed himself as spirit soul at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this regard, one may refer to the incident of Dhritarashtra's leaving his body, as described in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 1.13.55. Dhritarashtra analytically divided his gross material body into the 5 different elements of which it was made: earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and distributed them to the different reservoirs of these elements. In other words, he merged these 5 elements into the original Mahat Tattva. I'll just say a few words just to cut the big purport. This is obviously a yogic process. How can one merge one's own elements into the original Mahat Tattva? This is an interesting, we don't know how do you, earth. So earth from your body merge into the earth, and air merge into the air, and so on and so forth. So yogis apparently can do it. It is obviously described by the Dhritarashtra. When Dhritarashtra left home, he went to the mountains and he was involved in the yogic process, and he did this. Also, I think there's in Prithu Maharaj in the Srimad Bhagavatam similar story that he actually also merged. So, first of all, the first point here is that we are made of these elements, that we have to understand that we are not us, of course, we are us, but we are made of these elements, at least our physical body. So our physical body is made of these elements. This is called dravya, actually, in Sanskrit. Dravya, the substances. In Ayurveda, there are these 5 dravyas, and according to, when these dravyas are not somehow, they're misbalanced, then disease occurs. This is the official Ayurvedic statements. 5 dravyas. So in Krishna consciousness, we do not need to do this. We are not. First of all, we are not qualified to do this. Nobody can do severe austerities as the yogis did, and nobody has this capacity to actually tolerate, like we see this amazing austerities of Hiranyakashipu. Who can do this? Who can do this? Who can do the amazing austerities of Dhruva Maharaj? Who can do the amazing austerities even when Vrikasura was cutting his flesh and offering to Lord Shiva? I cannot do it. I don't know, maybe somebody can do it. So these are heavy austerities. So we don't have capacity to do this. Our mind is not steady. And also the world is not made like this anymore. There's no place to meditate. There's no more pure forests. Maybe there somewhere, maybe in Brazil, in the jungles. But still there you have all kinds of animals who will disturb you. Snakes or mosquitoes or whatever the animals. So it's very difficult to do this. And second of all, devotees of Krishna, our process is actually we let Krishna do things for us. It's a kind of because Krishna said he will do it. Ananyas chintayam tamam ye jana paripasate tesham niktya biyuktanam yoga kshemam vahamyaham. Krishna says, I will carry what you lack and I will preserve what you have. So from you, Krishna speaks to Arjuna, it's only expected to do what you can. And you can do a lot. You know, Arjuna could do a lot. He could kill all these thousands and thousands of soldiers on the enemy side. So he said, you should do this because this is who you are, and the rest, I will take care of the rest. So this is, in one sense, devotee's attitude of Atmanivedana, of surrendering to Krishna. We surrender to Krishna, we do our best, we do our service with the best of our abilities, the best of our minds, best of our money, facilities we have, we give it to Krishna, and then we are confident, we are not hoping, we are confident that Krishna will care for the rest. We don't, oh, I'm going to die now, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Krishna will take care of it. He promised. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said in one poem, he said, my dear Lord, you promise when somebody surrenders to you, you will take away all his, unhappiness and all his problems away. So here I am, I surrender myself, so now it's your turn. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, I was very kind of humorous. He says, it's your turn now. Your turn is to take away all this and take care of this. You promised. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, I have nothing to do with this anymore. So you come to this point that you have nothing to do with your problems because they're not actually your problems. Your only problem is how can you serve Krishna? How can I engage in Krishna consciousness? How can I please Krishna? And then Krishna will take care of the rest. How will I die? Where will I die? We were recently in Vrindavan and one senior lady, Mataji, told us, now you're at the age, me and my wife, you're at the age that you should look for a place where you're going to leave your body. And this is kind of interesting. Meaning you should look for a place where you will stay in that place, do your service, but in this place you should, consider this is going to be a place where I'm going to leave my body. So we were thinking, where is the place? Where should we leave the body? Is it India or is it Mayapur? But then we concluded, our conclusion is that whatever we think, Krishna will arrange ultimately. Where is the best place? Because, of course, it's nice to live body in Vrindavan, it's guaranteed go back to Godhead. Nice to live place in Mayapur, guaranteed back to Godhead. But it's also nice to live a body anywhere where there's Krishna consciousness. And if Krishna consciousness is in our mind, Mana Mora Vrindavan, Lord Chaitanya said, so our mind is if our mind is in Vrindavan, then we are always in Vrindavan. Whether we are in, Bad Oeynhausen or what is it, Bad Mönchengladbach, or whatever the place is. Krishna is everywhere. Krishna is everywhere, and wherever there's Krishna, Krishna is never alone. Krishna Prabhupada says Krishna is always around with his entourage. When his holy Dham also is there, Vrindavan is always there where Krishna is. And all the, gopis and gopas. So we will not be deprived if we leave our bodies somewhere outside of Vrindavan. Because Krishna will take care of it. We have to be confident. He said it, so he will do it. Prabhupada said it, Prabhupada will do it. There was this, I have to repeat this story one more time. When Brahmananda Prabhu and Gargamuni Prabhu, they were sannyasis at that time in the 70s. And so they were speaking to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada says, whoever goes to the Muslim countries gets a special mercy of Krishna. So they thought, let's go to Pakistan and preach. So they went with the sannyas dandas, dhotis, saffron in the middle of Pakistan. At that time it was very, nowadays of course it's even more dangerous, but at that time, so very segregated. This was just fresh after the war. The segregation happened, I don't know exactly, 48. So this was 60s, only 10, 15 years after. So it was still fresh animosity. And here they are, two big Western Hindus in the middle of the, I think Karachi, I don't know where did they exactly go, and singing Hare Krishna. So what did happen? They got arrested immediately in jail. And what happened to the fake news, as fake news is nowadays very prominent, everybody speaks of Lügepresse. That time, somehow the fake news came out, and it came out in Indian newspaper, that two Hare Krishna devotees, ISKCON devotees, got killed in Pakistan. So Prabhupada led this. Oh my God, my best disciple, my senior most disciples got killed because I sent them to Pakistan. So Prabhupada, I'm sure, felt very bad. So somehow or other they released the devotees, and devotees went back to Mumbai. Prabhupada was in Mumbai. This was a story spoken by Brahmananda Prabhu, who has left his body in Vrindavan. And Prabhupada saw them and he was very pleased that they are alive and everything. And then Prabhupada said this sentence to them: because of this endeavor alone, you will go back to God. Just this endeavor, not to speak of, other services would have done for Prabhupada. So, and Gargamuni, I was visiting this with Prithu Prabhu actually in the early 2000s. We were visiting Gargamundi and Brahmananda. They stayed in this hotel. They had these 2 rooms, whatever, in Vrindavan. And then he said it, this Gargamuni said, Prabhupada promised, and he will do it. I don't care, He said, I know Prabhupada promised, and I know he has confidence, full confidence that they will go back to Godhead, because Prabhupada promised. So we should have this confidence that Krishna promises, na tam nivartate, na dhamma paramam mama. That those who actually constantly think of Krishna and offer service to Krishna will never return to this material world. So this is our firm faith, you can say. And devotees should have this faith. And try to not, to let Krishna, as an American hippie jargon says, let it go, man. We were once on one rainbow gathering, and the fire was in the fire pit. And there was one big log, was kind of like, when big logs, I don't know, anybody knows the fire, the bonfire. So when the big log, you put on top, so after the burning, it's like, so you have to kind of break it to, so the one, I was just walking by and two guys was completely stoned, sitting next to the fire. And one guy wanted to take the stick to break the wood, and the other said, let the fire break it, man. I thought this is you could say, symptom of the mentality of these people. Let the fire, natural. Let it be natural. Let the fire break it. So this is actually our attitude also. Let Krishna take care of it. We should not be concerned about this. We should be concerned, how can I serve Krishna? Because all these things are, coincidental. Meaning this will happen automatically, according to our karma or whatever. So we should not be concerned about this thing. We should just accept it. Okay, this is now, I'm in this situation, I have to deal with this situation, but how can I engage myself in the service to Krishna? So this is our mentality. We don't try to change our karma. We try to, of course now, but you see, this is lately, the last 15 years, the whole world was like this. Before, people just lived their lives. But now nobody can accept just to live their lives anymore. Say up to the last 20 years ago. People just live their lives. But now, you have to be achiever. You have to self-help. If you read the self-help gurus in this on a bookshelf in a bookstore, there's like a biggest, so many different books. You can achieve it. You can do it better. You set up your mind to it. How do you call this? Not self-help, but also motivational speakers. People who had never achieved anything in life except this. They became rich by being motivational speaker, although they didn't achieve themselves anything, which is interesting. They are these big names. I don't want to name these names, but these biggest motivational speakers, they've never done anything in their lives. Never done any business. Never opened, nothing. They never make any money, but they're motivating. This is also sometimes devotees, they want to be coach. I want to be coach. And you have so many coaches, nobody wants to be coached. But if you first of all to be coached, to be a coach, this is our philosophy. You cannot be a guru unless you're a disciple. Nowadays, everyone wants to be a guru, but nobody wants to be a disciple. And therefore, when I give lecture in many places, when I say any questions, people, I have a comment. Everybody has a comment. questions are very, very rare nowadays. Because comments, everybody wants to give comment. It's ridiculous, You cannot be a guru unless you're a disciple first. And actually, the guru stays disciple for the rest of his life. The guru doesn't think, okay, now I reached, guruship. I reached the ultimate destination, and now I don't need to be a disciple anymore. I can just order people around and enjoy my hard work. This is actually Mayavadi philosophy. I spoke some years ago to one Buddhist monk, and he told me that I said, do you have something like teachers, gurus? He said, yes, we have. And then I said, so how do you deal with this when, what is your relationship? He said, this is not so serious between the guru and the disciple. I said, what do you mean not serious? He said, because we use the guru as a means to help us to achieve things. Once we achieve things, then we just abandon guru, because this is just a temporary usage of the material energy. He's like a guru is also made of atoms, like I'm made of atoms. So they're using these atoms, like this example, using thorn to take the thorn out. So using material atoms to achieve something higher, and then I don't need these atoms anymore. Just like a ladder, you climb the building on the ladder, and once you stop on the top of the building, you just kick the ladder. You don't need it anymore. So guru is just like a ladder. I said, well, this is so horrible, This is so impersonal. Somebody's actually, take their time and energy to train you and everything, and you just said, now I don't need you anymore. It's horrible. That's called impersonalism. So devotees are not impersonalists. So meaning again that when a disciple becomes a guru in due course of time, some people ask him to become his disciples, and then the guru doesn't think like, I'm guru now. He always thinks, I'm still disciple. This is my new service. Disciples don't think that way. Disciples think, this is my representative of Krishna. External manifestation of Paramatma, guru. But the guru thinks, this is just this is my another service. Hare Krishna, confirmed. This garland fell. So this must be some truth that I said here. So this is it as far as merging the elements into the elements. That we actually just let the fire break it, man. Let the Krishna deal with these things. As this famous line from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's song, Janme Janme Dao Oy Gora Hari Ahaituki Bhakti Charane Tomar. The Bhaktivinoda Thakur prays, I don't need anything from you. I need Janme Janme Dao. Give me birth after birth. Ahaituki Bhakti, unmotivated bhakti, devotion, Charane Tomar, to your lotus feet. That's all he needs. Everything else can come and go. So, let's read further. By identifying his material conception of life, he gradually separated his spirit soul from material connections and placed himself at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The example given in this connection is that when an earthen pot is broken, the small portion of the sky within the pot is united with the large sky outside the pot. Mayavadi philosophers misunderstand this description of Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, Sri Ramanuja Swami, in his book Vedanta Tattva Sara, has described that this merging of the soul means that after separating himself from the material body made of the 8 elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, false ego, mind, and intelligence, the individual soul engages himself in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his eternal form. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchit Ananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. The material cause of the material elements absorbs the material body, and the spiritual soul assumes its original position. As described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jivera Svarupahai, Krishnera Nityadas, the constitutional position of the living entity is that he is the eternal servant of Krishna. When one overcomes the material body through cultivation of spiritual knowledge and devotional service, one can revive his own position and thus engage in the service of the Lord. So Prabhupada again emphasizes this point again and again. Service, devotional service. I was some years ago in Rishikesh and I went to a bookstore. And bookstore, there are all kinds of Mayavadi books. This is Rishikesh, yoga like a hub of India. And there was one book, of course, the main, when you enter the main display, books are usually standing like this, but the book display like this was, I am that, Tattvam Asi, the book was I am that. So when you as a tourist, as a Westerner come, you see, oh, I am that, I want to read this. Anyway, so this is their preaching also. Although they are impersonalists, they're still using the techniques of personalism, like preaching, which is kind of interesting. If you're impersonalist, what do you care if somebody reads your book or doesn't? So you read it, that means that you have a personal interest. So this is personalism. Anyways, but this is a different story. So I looked at some books and there was a Narada Bhakti Sutra. We know Narada Bhakti Sutra. Prabhupada, actually this is a book originally starting to, I think Satsvarup Maharaj wrote the purports to this Narada Bhakti Sutra, because Prabhupada originally asked, he wanted to translate Narada Bhakti Sutra and give purports to it. So Prabhupada gave purports to 7, 8 or verses or something like this, not more. And he didn't have a time because he was more involved with Bhagavatam. So that was nice, and then Satsvarup Maharaj wrote the rest of the purports to this Narada Bhakti Sutra. So I looked at this other Narada Bhakti Sutra. This was an impersonalist Narada Bhakti Sutra, which is also interesting that they use also word bhakti. And word bhakti means devotion. But the problem is that the impersonalists, the Mayavadis, they use bhakti again as a means to achieve things. For them, bhakti is for those who are spiritually less advanced. So you are less advanced, so you cannot, meditate on the avyakta, on the impersonal Brahman, You cannot meditate immediately on this, so therefore, as a pre-step, you need bhakti. So therefore, you need the deity worship, you need a guru again, you need all this process, Gayatri mantra and everything, the Vedic culture people follow, dharma. This is only because you are unable to practice proper bhakti. To practice, to be impersonal, to practice on the impersonal Brahman. So I was looking at this Bhakti, Narada Bhakti Sutra. The word Bhakti is always translated as love. This such love. Love. So this is such a actually vague word. Love. What is love? Love. This is it's very vague philosophically. I always like this example of this paradox. It's called paradox. Something which is like a hot ice. It doesn't. It's a paradox. How can hot ice be hot? So in philosophy, this is called paradox of a heap. This paradox means there's different paradoxes. So this paradox is how can you recognize how big is a heap? Heap, Haufen. Eine Haufen, eine Menge. How can you recognize, for example, you have a heap of grains, of Getreide. So this is, and you say, oh, this is one heap. Okay, I understand. But then if you take one grain, is it still a heap? Yeah. If you take another one, how many grains you need to take so the heap stop being a heap? So logically, actually, there is no end. You have to go towards the end. So this is always the question also. This is undefined. We have in this world we live with so many undefined terms. Like this term love. What is actually love? Okay, love is somebody's like, madly love with somebody, but love can be also something else. It's a very undefined term. So they are using, or you can say misusing, this term love to mean something else than what we mean as devotees. Even what devotees mean love is completely different what the person on the other side of the street thinks what love is. Loving affairs, loving affairs between Radha and Krishna. You're like, wow. So when people read this, loving affairs, this is horrible, loving affairs. Because in their minds, love and affair means something else than what in our minds means. So Prabhupada was he knew all these things, what's going on in India, how people translate it. He was very much mentioning many times the Gorak Press, the publishing company who translate all these books, particularly Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada was always impressing that our Bhagavad Gita is Bhagavad Gita as it is. And it's a little bit, not humble to say this, My Bhagavad Gita is Bhagavad Gita as it is. Other Bhagavad Gitas are nice, but this is as it is. So, but you can say it's not humble, but it's also true. If something is true, it doesn't need to be humble. Like, for example, you say, it's raining outside. It's not puffed up statement, it's actually reality. It's a true statement. So if Prabhupada says it's Bhagavad Gita as it is, that means it's a fact. And then Prabhupada elaborates why is Bhagavad Gita as it is. Then he says there's so many other translations of Bhagavad Gita, hundreds translations in English, and none of them actually produced a single devotee of Krishna. And our Bhagavad Gita is only how long? Very short, and so many non-devotees already became devotees. So this was Prabhupada's, we can say, evidence. This is our evidence that Bhagavad Gita is as it is, because the purpose. You have to understand the purpose, the essence, like this Prabhupada quotes here, Ramanujacharya's Vedanta Tattva Sara. Vedanta is Vedanta, the philosophy of Vedanta. Tattva is truth, or the conclusions, and Sara means the essence. So this is the essence of the Vedanta philosophy Ramanuja gave. So our Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada understood the essence of Bhagavad Gita, the essence of this whole conversation, actually. The essence of all this conversation is not to have a conversation, but to actually create devotees. From non-devotees, to convert them to become devotees. This is the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada says in one, I added some notes, I actually prepared notes for different words, but anyways. And Prabhupada says in these notes that I made, were found, Prabhupada says the essence, this is the purport of the Hare Krishna movement, or the purport of existence of the Hare Krishna movement, is to engage whole world in Krishna consciousness activities. So this is the essence of Prabhupada's teachings. You can say there's so many teachings, you can expand to it and give millions of seminars and so many things. But the essence of all of this is actually engage or atheistic population to become devotees of Krishna and to engage them into the service. So this is the Sara, this is the essence of our teaching also. So what else is there? Would you have any, Maharaj, would you like to say anything?
When you were speaking about in-person merging,
Yes.
I remember that Prabhupada said once, to become one doesn't one that merges, but actually one in interest.
Yes. Yes, one in interest. Exactly. This is a very good point. I actually just was also reading something and then posted on my Facebook. Prabhupada gave the example, there's 5 fingers. He was speaking to a guest. And the guest said, we have to merge, because he has heard from some sources. We have to merge to become one. And Prabhupada said, how can you become one? We're all different. And the man said, no. Prabhupada said, look at the 5 fingers. How can these 5 fingers become one finger? It's not possible. They're different fingers. So Prabhupada showed 5 fingers. It's not possible to merge. And the man was insistent, and then Prabhupada made this point. The 5 fingers will remain 5 fingers, but they will merge into the oneness of the interest. They will use the hand to actually do certain things. So this is the oneness, what we are professing. So again, we have so many terminologies that we have to geklärt werden? Clarify. That we have to clarify these points to actually the world. It's nice we are going to Harinam, this is very nice, we are singing, but people don't know what we are thinking. They actually don't know what is in our minds. What is our ideas about love? What do we think what love is? People do not know what do we think what death is. People do not know what we think what body is, relationship, the world, so on and so forth. So we have to all this. It's our duty as preachers to actually clarify or explain to people what that is. So it's a lots of work to do. Yes.
Yes, I also recognize while distributing books in the last weeks, how can I make devotional service tasteful to the people outside? What is your idea to it's very individually probably, but...
Yes, I think again, there was a time when we did books, 12 hours a day on rain in Seattle, I remember. 10, 12 hours carrying 70, 80 books in my backpack. And then on the end, we were so, you kind of pass over all these stories and all this. You just go out and you pray to Krishna and you want Krishna to give them a book. So we had this mantra, excuse me, I'm a monk and I have these books. This was our mantra. There was nothing there, hey, because usually my style was, hey, how's it going, man? Where are you from? Then you, just ask a little bit about the person. Oh, you look like this, or you look like a bodybuilder. Yeah. Then you give him a book. But then because we were so tired also, and raining, and it's raining, you have no time to say things, So you just give him a book, and he said, I'm a monk, and these are books. These are some books. Would you take one? People said, yeah, I'll take one. They don't know what it is. Or I had also one mantra because we did small books. We had so many small books. Ishopanishad or Beyond Birth and Death, Jenseits für Geburt und Tod. And then you want to, I was competing with one devotee. I like this also. We did competition. So he had a big box of 300 small books or 400, and I had also a box. And I go to his box and looking, his box is getting smaller. And he's looking at my box and he's like, faster, you have to do faster. So at the end, I didn't have a time to speak to people. And I said, this is something nice from India. Give a donation. People said, okay. They don't know what you didn't even tell his book, nothing. I'm just saying, not that this is the proper attitude. But the point is that, and some people are speaking to people 20 minutes. Some people are not speaking. Some people are saying something nice. Some people are straightforward. Vijay Prabhu, I think he's still Minister of Book Distribution, I don't know, from America. He had this whole thing with Bhagavad Gita. He did only Bhagavad Gita, Ekam Shastram Devaki Putra Gita. The other books are not existing for book distribution, just Gitas. This is heavy to distribute. Now we have small Gitas, but the Gitas were like big. Yes. So he goes and he shows them the pictures in the middle of the three modes, and he explains the three modes of material nature, and he says, so which mode are you? So people say, I'm mostly ignorant, So he preached this way, So they're different. So I don't think there's any formula. It's according to your personality. The main thing what we have to understand that Krishna is distributing books, and that we should chant our rounds in the morning very attentively, and we should have a desire to please Prabhupada by distributing books. And this is, otherwise, why are we distributing books? Yes. To make money? You can make money by other ways, Or to be on a list, Sankirtan list, and somebody says, you do better than whatever. I want to be number 6 in the marathon. Nobody wants to be number 6 in the marathon, but, we do this to please Prabhupada. That's all, really. We are not salesmen. We are not interested in selling. So, like this. And then you can tell them nicely or not nicely. Or I always give the example of Jaya. Jaya was here. we were, he was our Bhakta, he joined us in America, and he was this, so he had a very unusual ways of, as you know, Jairam, he was very unusual ways of approaching people on the street. And once we approached one boy, this boy was like American football, like a strong guy, like muscles, and Jairam is like skinny, small, and he said, "Excuse me, sir, we're presenting these books and this and that," and the boy said, "I don't have money." And Jairam said, "You're lying. You don't say, I've never said this, you are lying, you never say this." And he said, "You are lying." And the guy was like getting angry, He said, "No, I'm not lying," and he left, And then he said he went home, this boy, and he was thinking, wow, the first time in my life somebody told me the truth in my eyes. Because he had $1,000 in his pocket. So he was lying that he doesn't have money. No, he told him he doesn't have money. He said, "You're lying, you have money." So then next day he came back to the same spot and he met Jairam and he spoke to him and he became a devotee. He became a Sankhya devotee himself. So I'm not saying that we should do this. I'm saying, there are ways sometimes you say, or sometimes, I know, you if you do book distribution a lot, you say something and people say, "I don't want a book." And he said, "Take it, it's your birthday anyway." Did it happen to you? Happened to me twice. You speak all kinds of nonsense when you do book distribution. And then I said, "It's your birthday anyway." And the person was shocked. "How do you know?" I said, "Yoga, meditation, It's all written in this book, So of course they buy a book, Happened to me twice. Or something like this, Once I was distributing books in the airport, and one lady came, and I somehow I felt I should give her Ishopanishad. I don't know why. And I gave her Ishopanishad, and I said, "This is described." And she said, "What is this book about?" And I said, "This is describe what happened to soul when the soul dies in this body." And she started crying, and what happened is her relative or something was dying at this moment. She's going to the hospital, and this person will die within a few hours. I said, "Well, take it." She took the book and read it. She said, "I will definitely read." Yeah. So sometimes it's like this, Sometimes it's like you talk all kinds of nonsense and telling jokes, and people even don't know why did they buy a book. They just take the book and they go away. They later on, "What did I have?" So like that. Hare Krishna. Yes.
You spoke about one should be confident that Krishna will take care of everything.
Yes.
And sometimes I feel that it is for Prabhus to say this because Matajis have that natural inclination of take care of everything and always be secure or hold on to something. What would be your recommendation to pacify our mind to make it understand that we depend on Krishna?
We read
in this condition.
Yes. Can you take this quote of Prabhupada today? This is above you. We just read a quote from Prabhupada today. That's this white thing, the calendar. Yes.
Are you saying that we should trust our husband as a provider?
If the husband is first class and the wife is chaste and faithful, then the home is heaven. So the point is that we all have our dharmas, and so here the dharma of a husband is to be first class husband, meaning that this is like, oh yeah. The dharma of a husband is to be first class husband, meaning that the husband should actually make sure, first class in that sense means, of course, so many things, but in the ultimate sense that the husband is Krishna conscious. And therefore the wife felt confident because husband is the Guru Patni in the Shastra described. And if the husband is not Guru Patni, then the wife has to take some initiative. Prabhupada says even, if the husband, there was some letters or even quotes from the Shastra, if the husband is not devotee, the wife should actually leave the husband. This is like, I was shocked, But this is Prabhupada, actually, this is approved by the Shastra. Because ultimately our main goal is to actually be Krishna's devotees, whether we are a husband or whether we are a wife, or whether we are not a wife at all, if you're a woman. Meaning, if you're a woman, you have a certain body and you have to just deal with it. So deal to the best of your abilities. I was talking to, there was devotees who are like interested to be, homosexual devotees. So they cannot get married. Man is not interested in women, so they cannot marry to a woman. So I remember we were talking about it. So I said, you just have to tolerate it and deal with it. It's an urge there. You cannot fulfill it by marrying a woman. You will not be happy. So stay wherever you are, and just accept this. This is my karma. This is what my body is, and I just have to deal with it and be Krishna conscious. Something like this, This is more like, of course, it's more like a detailed woman, because what is a woman? There's so many, different women, but, there's some passionate women, there are more women who are humble, there are women who are submissive, there are women who are unable, without husband, they cannot do anything. So they wait, the husband brings husband, there are women there are women who are actually going forward, there are women who are by far stronger than the husband. So husband then, we have this Angela Merkel, whatever, she led the whole country for many, many years, and very strong. We are Margaret Thatcher, So there are different kinds of women. So I think like this, you have to look from your perspective as a devotee, devota, as they say in Spanish. How can I, what is my dharma? What is my, how can I be Krishna conscious and depend on Krishna? Because you have to depend on Krishna. Like for example, if the disciple have a guru and very, very dependent on guru and surrender to guru, and then the guru falls down, and then the disciple thinks, all things I've done for him, it's all useless now, it's a waste of time. No, guru has fallen down because he didn't do his dharma, but you did your dharma, and you get the whole benefit, full benefit. When somebody gives the donation to a devotee, and devotee takes, he says, okay, this is for the temple, and you take the money and you go to a bar and drink, So you get the bad reaction, but this person who gave, he get full benefit as he given to Krishna. So like this, you have to find your way, what your dharma is. And particularly the married people, there's a dharma. Prabhupada speaks about it. What is the dharma of a man? What is the dharma of a woman? And if you do your dharma perfectly, the result will be there. Of course, to always admit, with the idea that Krishna is always in the center. Everything else is details, I think, of your question. Let's leave it at this for now. Anything else? Yes, Prabhu?
The current ISKCON book distribution minister, Vaisheshika Das.
Oh, he's a minister. Okay, I didn't.
He has a very personal approach. It seems almost that he's making friends with the people on the streets, which seems...
Yeah, this is American way. Yeah, when I came first time to America, this is what they told me also. You make friends, you talk to them, and I did this, for a long time. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it's just impersonal. I met one devotee. He was from Germany, Hamburg, and he was also in America at that time. And his book distribution technique was like this. Very tall, very serious, shaved, big, dangerous-looking German, very heavy accent. Excuse me? No smile. And people are like, excuse me. They come. And he said, I'm from Germany, Hamburg. We're distributing these books, so give a donation. And people said, okay. Next person, I stood next to him, and he said, excuse me? And people come, I'm from Germany, Hamburg. We're distributing these books, so give a donation. The emphasis is this donation, so give a donation, like a little louder. And people said, oh, okay. And he did, every person he approached took a book. Every person. He did maybe 30 books, one after the other. There was nobody says no. And I'm going, excuse me, how's it going? No. You see a woman, say, are you modeling? There's no, I'm not modeling. And he just did this, excuse me. So there are different devotees, different approaches. There's not one way works and the other way doesn't work. What works is our surrender to Krishna and our hard work. You know, many times, you know, Prabhu Prabhu actually, when he told us, then he said, if you want to break through book distribution, you have to go out at 6 o'clock in the morning and eat breakfast on the street. So he said, let's do it, you know. So 6:20, we left, and around 7 o'clock we were there. We had to take the bus to the place. Around 10 to 7, we're eating prasadam on the sidewalk. We're sitting on the street eating prasadam. And 7:00, we started with book distribution. 3 people on the street, we are just like, excuse me, you know, like warriors, you know, people like just woke up, you know, they have no ideas. And, but this is, you know, then when it's 12 o'clock, you're already, the whole street is yours. You have been there, it's your street. When you go at 12 o'clock, it's their street. You're joining their street. This was the, you know, and then this is true. We started going out at 6:30 in the morning, 6:20. And our book distribution like went so high. You know, just and eating on the street and just no lunch, just like going for it. And at 5 o'clock in the morning, afternoon, we go back. Yes.
One question: where was it when this?
Sorry?
When this Prabhu was distributing books in such a strict way? Yes, sir. I'm from Germany.
New York.
Okay.
And New York is like a, but you know, I like the big streets, you know, the lots of people. But he goes to the very quiet. There was a library, big New York library, and he just goes in front of there. There's a few people coming out, and it's just, for me, this was impossible to distribute books there. I have to be, you know, I cannot.
In New York it's possible, but here it's not.
Yeah, I know. This is different. That's what I'm saying. It's different countries, different places. In South America, in Brazil, devotees was distributing books in the buses. They go inside of the bus full of passengers, and he said, I have these books. And then he goes and gives books to everybody, and they look at it, then he goes and collects the money, and then next station he goes off.
They use it.
Megaphone, yeah.
Megaphone.
Yeah.
Because it's very noisy in the buses.
I tried this in India, actually, and it worked. I tried this when I was some years ago in India. I go to the bus station. You know, everybody sells this, you know, mumfali, the peanuts, so they sell the whatever, chai. And I just went with the books, and I just said, I used this formula of Harikesh Swami when he was in the subway in New York. In the name of 6 Goswamis in Vrindavan, we are distributing pure love of God. Something like this. So I did this also, shouting, in the name of 6 Goswamis. And I was going to each person who sat in a seat, and I gave them a book. And I said, you can take one book home, just give me 20 rupees, you know. Then I go collect money, and then next bus. This is more passionate. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.